What is up, YouTube? Good morning. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. And with December around the corner, gaming is at an all-time high. But what we're going to talk about today is what we've been really talking about a lot lately is the whole physical versus digital era war, whatever you want to call about it. How digital is really just starting to take over and physical is really going nowhere. They're erasing physical stuff from history, and then this story that we're going to talk about today has really been something crazy that, that we predicted would happen. This is what we don't like about digital stuff. So, as a lot of you know, PlayStation recently has been hit with a huge lawsuit, like $5.9 billion for essentially ripping people off. So I'm going to pull up this article and we're going to look at it and talk a little bit more about it. So yeah, you can tell right here from the from this, just the title alone from Kotaku. PlayStation is hit with a $5.9 billion lawsuit for ripping people off on digital games. The lawsuit's potential claimants include up to nearly 9 million Sony consumers. So as of right now, I'm pretty sure this is only the UK. But we're going to talk a little bit more about this. And I mean, we knew this was going to happen. There was no way to really regulate the cost of digital games. And like I said, a lot of times they save so much money on making digital ones because they don't have to put the disc, they don't have to make the case, and they already got rid of manuals many years ago. But we're going to jump into this. So a consumer rights advocacy group is suing Sony for charging a 30% commission fee on all digital purchases made through the UK PlayStation Store. This is functionally a class action lawsuit that seeks to distribute billions of dollars to players who have used the PlayStation UK Store since August of 2016. So essentially what happened is Sony dominates the digital distribution of PlayStation games and in-game content, said one of the lawyers leading the lawsuit. It has deployed an anti-competitive strategy which has resulted in excessive prices to consumers that are out of all proportions to the cost of Sony providing its services. So basically what Sony is doing is they obviously are heading their own company online on the PlayStation Store. So they are essentially charging 30% commission fee on all digital purchases that were made on the PlayStation Store. So not only were they charging, excessive, like expensive prices, they're also charging a 30% commission fee on top of that. So they were really just ripping everybody off. The argument here was that Sony has a near monopoly on the sale of digital games, particularly PlayStation games, and so it shouldn't be using that power to enforce unreasonable prices. Right there. So we talked in the past about how once they get rid of physical games, the companies can monopolize completely on this stuff. Like, once the physical things are out there, the developers, the people that make the stuff, they have no say on what's going to happen, because the only way you can really purchase these games is if you buy the card, or if, let's say, you go on you got to go on the PlayStation Store to buy this. So what does that mean? That means essentially you can just charge whatever you want for the freaking game, and if people want to play it, that's the only way they can play it, guys. Let's see. Sony is not the only platform that enforces a 30% take. Most major storefronts do this, with notably the exception of the Epic Game stores. We'll have to wait and see whether or not this court upholds that the PlayStation ecosystem is a monopoly, and whether or not that will have an impact on other walled gardens like app stores of Steam. The plaintiffs pointed out that the gaming is the biggest entertainment industry in the UK, and the Sony is hurting consumers who can't afford their games. So that's really what it's going to come down to too, is these games were made for people to play, guys. And we see this now, people are getting greedy in the video game market, and with the way that the economy is going, I think even they've mentioned in other videos that I've watched that the economy in other countries is just as bad as the United States. It's not like, we're the only ones suffering right now. But right here. Yeah, we're in the midst of a cost of living crisis, and the consumer purse is being squeezed like never before. It's just, I'm not sure if I would lump gaming together with a cost of living crisis, but paying rent is a necessity. Playing God of War or Ragnarok at launch is not. So I mean, and I've said that before too, where we've been forced to buy digital games lately, whether it be they don't have a physical release or that they really just push for you to have to buy digitally, by not making very many physical games to begin with. So when like right there, when God of War Ragnarok came out, I was almost forced to buy it digitally because my local Walmart did not have it for 2 weeks after launch. They would only get enough in stock, and you'd have to call in ahead of time, and when you'd show up, most of the time they wouldn't have it. So I wanted to play the game around launch because I've been so excited for it. So then I had to I had to digitally buy the game. And then that was just like, it's really, it just doesn't feel, it sucks. And we talked about this before, but, all the risks of digital going to be the only thing coming pretty soon. And this is it. And they can charge whatever they want for it. Hopefully this lawsuit kind of pushes this away, and that we can get away from, stuff like this. But let's see here. The last major lawsuit that against the 30% commission was filed by Epic Games against Apple. Apple had removed Fortnite from its App Store after its publisher had tried to implement its own payment method. The store's ability to collect 30% on the game's microtransactions. The court ruled that Apple could not force microtransactions to go through the App Store, but it also stated that Apple was in violation of the antitrust law. Well, I can't, beat this into people's heads enough. I'm a big supporter of just playing games, and I play digital games. Yes, I play physical. I prefer physical games themselves. I went on my way to make sure that I could buy a physical copy of Spider-Man 2. While at the time, if I really wanted to play it, I could have downloaded the digital one, but I wanted to make sure that I had the physical one because that's the way I like to do it. But we have games like Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 that are coming out now that are pure digital games. You can't buy a physical copy of them. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is only physical in Japan. And sure, this might put a stepping stone into focusing on, okay, maybe Sony's going to be like, okay, maybe we need to back off on this. Obviously, people are becoming aware of this. Microsoft might do the same note. They might be like, hey, look, Sony's over here getting some issues. Maybe we need to jump ahead of this too to kind of get ahead of them in the market. But essentially, these guys are charging so much money for these games and stuff, and then on top of that, they're making 30% more on commission from selling them. And I guess people over in the UK were like, enough is enough. And like I said, we're in a living crisis right now. Some of us are working multiple jobs just to get by, and on top of that, to try and stay sane and have some kind of entertainment, we usually seek video games, movies and stuff like that. And I read in another article earlier too that I think over in the UK that gaming is more popular than movies and music itself. So they know this. They're going to up the prices because they want to make as much money as possible because they're greedy, and it's essentially just going to hurt them in the end. So what's going to come down to is either people are going to stop buying video games, or they're going to end up getting sued big time like this. And then we might lose companies because they're going to not have any money left over. So it's a rough time, guys. So I want to know in the comments below what you guys think about this. Do you think that the lawsuit's going to go through and that people are going to get some of their money back, or do you think that in the end this is just going to get pushed under the rugs like a lot of stuff in the markets nowadays? Somebody's going to pay somebody off, and we're not going to see any change. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. That being said, as always, stay retro, my friends, and I'll see you in the next video.